Action.
Okay. All members of the panel will remain with their shirts on, but I want to show my t-shirt.
Peace and punk rock. Wow.
We got, or Heather and I saw the Flaming Lips at Art Park, Lewiston, New York, not far from Niagara Falls. Last summer of 2019. And in retrospect, I might not have bought this t-shirt as Wayne Coyne, the lead singer, is giving the finger. So as a 15-year-old, professional public school teacher, father of two, you don't have much occasion to wear this t-shirt. But tonight, it's definitely an occasion.
Nice.
All right, guys, I'm going to share my screen.
All right. Go
Lone Speakers episode 4, featured LP. We're here to discuss the Soft Bulletin by the Flaming Lips. Our presenters, David Henningman and myself, Greg Janko. Our very special guest for this episode is Mr. Don Patterson. Dave and Don are coming live from Japan. You're both in the Yokohama area, right? Yeah.
I'm in Hamamatsu in central Japan.
Okay. How far away is that, Don, from Yokohama, Tokyo?
About 300 kilometers in metric. Couple hours by bullet train.
Okay. How long have you been there, Don? 5
years now.
Okay.
So I've been all over. I lived in the Tokyo area for many years, but 5 years now here in Hamamatsu.
Okay.
Hamamatsu is maybe not so well known, but the companies from Hamamatsu are pretty well known. Suzuki and Yamaha are from here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, some big names, the car industry.
Piano too, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of known as a music city.
Oh, okay. When I lived in Japan, I did not make it there. And Don, we haven't seen each other since we got together for dinner when you were in Toronto.
It's about 10 years ago.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
So good to see you. So this is a reunion. So yeah, we're here to talk about the Soft Bulletin by the Flaming Lips. We're looking at the cover here, which I think visually very striking. I think sets the mood, kind of retro, classic, but distinctive, different. And I thought somehow I got the idea, maybe someone had mentioned that the gentleman on the cover here was Stephen Drozd. How do you say do you guys know how you say the drummer, the multi-instrumentalist in Flaming Lips, his name Drozd?
I was going to ask you, but I can't imagine any other way that would be pronounced, right?
Yeah. So Stephen, we'll go with Stephen. I thought this was him depicted on the cover, but a little internet research, and thank you again, Wikipedia, has revealed that the cover artwork of the album is a modified version of a photograph by Lauren Schiller titled The Acid Test. So Neil Cassidy, apparently it depicts Neil Cassidy dancing with his own shadow during an acid test conducted by the Merry Pranksters. It's featured in 1966 Life magazine article on LSD.
Huh.
Yeah, so I think that's a pretty cool reference. And well, I don't want to get too much into it now, but it's interesting how the Flaming Lips, they have a definitely a psychedelic sound, influenced by psychedelic sound of, 60s bands, 70s bands. And they're definitely experimental in sound and look, borrow from that psychedelic age. But in many of the interviews that I've heard, Wayne Coyne is not really a druggie and doesn't have, a it's not like he expounds and is a big advocate for psychedelic use for like, taking LSD or mushrooms. So it's interesting. But we'll get more into that later. So to start our discussion, I thought I'd highlight some of the catalysts, the main things that brought the Flaming Lips to this album, as this album was a big departure in their sound from the previous album Clouds Taste Metallic. And here I'm influenced, borrowing liberally from the Pitchfork documentary on the Soft Bulletin. Okay, number one, the commercial failure of Clouds Taste Metallic, which I think is a great record. And actually, I think, Dave, this is probably one you helped get me into. I think I rented it when I was in Japan and listened to the MD during my time there quite a bit. But it was a commercial failure, so they kind of felt the pressure was on, and they, I think, were wary that they would soon be dropped by Warner Brothers. There was in that sense of impending, exit. So I think Wayne Coyne mentioned they felt, like, well, we might as well, try something new in that regard. Number two, Ronald Jones left the band. Departure of Ronald Jones, highly skilled, distinctive guitarist. He was integral to the sound of Transmissions from the Satellite Heart, the album before Clouds Taste Metallic, as well as Clouds Taste Metallic. And I think Stephen Drozd, or just Stephen from the Flaming Lips, said his guitar sound was kind of like, said it was like Miles Davis and Kevin Shields. He had a very distinctive guitar playing style. And and those are two great albums.
Greg,
But
can I just add, do you know what
sure, go ahead.
Ronald Jones has done since then?
No,
Oh.
no. And I'd love to find out more. What the times I've looked on the internet, I haven't found much at all. So no, that's something we could explore in future episodes, Dave. Who knows? Possible guest. But no, I would love to find out. Yeah, I mean, he was integral to those albums, great albums. And I remember, Dave, you telling me before I got Clouds Taste Metallic, you were telling me you would, talk about how you love this song. What, the Bad Days?
Yeah. All your
When-
bad days will end. Yeah.
Is that all your bad days will end? And the video is so great. It's so much fun. Like,
Yeah.
they have all the lights. They're in the bedroom. Just like young guys having fun. Almost, it's almost like the Monkees or the Beatles.
They're little
but
kids on big wheels in that video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did he leave because of the lack of success, commercial success of Clouds Taste Metallic?
In the documentary, they talk about that he was very shy. Oh, and also, I should have read it. I read this book. I should have looked at it more closely recently, but Staring at Sound, this book on the Flaming Lips by Chicago writer Jim DeRogatis.
Oh, hey, I listen to his podcast sometimes.
Oh, okay. And he wrote a book on Lester Bangs too.
Okay, yeah. I think it's the guy who does. Maybe Don. Maybe you and I have talked about it. Sound opinions.
Sound Opinions.
Yeah,
Sound
yeah.
Opinions, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I like him.
In this book, he mentions, that he was very shy. So I think, the I don't know, the attention, the pressure of being a were trying to make it in the music world. They make it
Yeah.
as a celebrity, you know, or the celebrity that goes along with it, you know, wasn't comfortable for him. I think I think I did read something too, maybe a conflict with Stevens' lifestyle as he was getting more into drugs.
And that's kind of what they say in that little documentary. But to me, that seems kind of strange that, okay, if, you know, this band, they're doing all right, you know, even if Clouds Taste Metallic wasn't a big hit. I mean, even if they get dropped from Warner Brothers, they could still have a career. They have a lot of fans, you know. I mean, maybe they end up on a minor label. But to me, it seems strange that if Steven was the one with the drug problem, why does Ronald have to leave? You know?
Yeah.
To me, it seems strange that why did Wayne, who, from what we understand, was not a druggie at that time, or, you know, like the fact that he has these talented guys in his band. One of them has a serious drug problem, and the, you know, hotshot guitarist leaves because of the other guy's problem. Like, doesn't it seem like Wayne should have offered to kick Steven out of the band? I just think it's kind of strange.
It seems basically he was more of a bond with Steven than Ronald. And even in the documentary, it kind of struck me. He said like, oh, you know, he didn't say like, oh, we were so devastated when Ronald left. I mean, they all acknowledged like, you know, we have to change our sound, or that sound we had, we're not going to really be able to continue with. But he did mention, he's like, oh, there was a part of me that was kind of, he doesn't say happy, but
he said liberated, I think.
Yeah, liberated, because now he can go in a new musical direction. But that also makes me think they weren't that tight. Like they didn't have a strong emotional bond. They weren't close friends. If he's somewhat excited that he's leaving, you know.
Well, but I think what fascinates me about it,
and I think so, you know, and since he had a closer relationship with Steven, he's able to, you know, he feels he's more receptive to these new ideas he wants to try, a new sound, but he's obviously willing to tolerate his, you know, his lifestyle, because he wants to keep working with him.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. That's what surprises me. I think it'd be very hard to work with someone who was a heavy heroin user, right? Wayne's basically decided, no, I'm willing to put up with that to stick with.
Well, also, and he talks about, and I was listening to that interview with Mark Maron on WTF.
Yeah.
And he talks about his older brothers.
Yeah.
And his older brothers all had, or I don't know all, but a number of them had issues with substance abuse. So he's maybe conditioned or used to that. But Don, to address your question, I would just imagine too, the commercial failure of Clouds Taste Metallic probably was a factor in Ronald's decision too. Like, even though they could have continued in the band, but it wasn't going to be like this great paycheck or great, you know, economic opportunity.
The band certainly has an unusual relationship with success. You know, the success of Jelly, big single, I think maybe pushed them in a certain direction that maybe there was no more room for. So Clouds Taste Metallic not being a success, you know, you'd think that they would, you know, up the ante and try to create more singles like She Don't Use Jelly, but instead they go, you know, complete left turn, more experimental, and you can't get much more experimental than Zaireeka.
Yeah. What's on I gotta take a look. Clouds Taste Metallic. So what's Bad Days, Christmas at the Zoo, Brainville, Guy who got a headache and accidentally saves the world, Kim's Watermelon Gun. I'm just looking at the track list here. So I think it kind of continues in that transmissions from the satellite hard vein, like,
And
heavy guitar,
and
alt
Clouds
rock, but poppy,
Clouds Taste Metallic was a critically acclaimed album, though. So I mean, at least okay, there wasn't commercial success, but I don't know. I mean, wouldn't it still be fun to be in a cool band?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but
I'm curious, like you, to find out more.
about
Even with the soft, with the
about-
soft bulletin, I don't think that they were trying for, like a Billboard #1 hit. I mean, that's not really what they're after. In fact, Wayne Coyne was saying that he was kind of glad that the album became iconic within a certain group, but it's not like everyone in the world knows it. It's not the wallpaper kind of music. It's not a Nevermind.
Yeah.
It didn't break through like Nevermind, for example. That the songs didn't end up being used as background music when you go shopping, right? And so in that sense, they still have a freshness to them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they hold up.
But-
But with that,
Frank, can I just make one more point? When you mentioned she don't use jelly, right? So it's always mentioned as it was this big hit. All right. Just can I ask you guys, what number do you think that song was, like in the Billboard charts?
Definitely not.
I mean, it was like it was an MTV hit. You mean as a single?
Yeah, I mean, I just looked it up.
I wasn't even. I would question whether it was even in the top 100.
Yeah,
I don't know. If I would say 85.
Yeah, so it was 55, right? I looked it up, and
yeah, that's a kind of a college radio hit, though.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of surprising that hit brought so much pressure, because it wasn't a top 10 hit, right?
Yeah. Well,
so
but they're on Warner Brothers. So if you get signed to a major label like that, and what year was it? It was 90.
That's 93, right? Transmissions from the Satellite Heart. Is that right?
93, 94. So I mean, it's post Nirvana.
Well, released in that the single was released in October 93 and somehow August 94. So maybe it got a double release.
Re-release.
Yeah.
So
it obviously benefited from the novelty of it. It's a novelty hit.
Yeah.
I remember hearing it when I was in college and just kind of thinking that it was a funny song.
It's a great, I mean, I think it holds up. And I used it. I mean, I came to that song after the Soft Bullet. Well, I must have heard it, but yeah, my friend Matt had it. But I remember that was one I got into that album as well. All these earlier albums after the Soft Bulletin in Japan, and it's a fun song. And that was one I used with some students where I print out the lyrics and then remove some of the words and have them listen for the word.
It would be good for that, yeah. It was one of my favorite songs on this album before it became a hit. It was a good song.
It's a fun song. It has a sense of humor. But I think with being on Warner Brothers, they have that kind of success post Nirvana. They're looking for more of that. With the money they're investing and looking to make. All right, so we'll move on to number 3. So and Ronald Jones, if Ronald Jones or anyone watching is a friend with Ronald Jones, we'd like to hear from you. What are you up to now? Hope you're doing well. Number 3, MIDI, and this, actually our a special guest from a couple weeks ago, Brandon Delmont, when we were talking about it one time, mentioned how MIDI was such important part of the Soft Bulletin. And they say in that documentary how using MIDI, this capability, this sequencing capability through a keyboard where you have access to all these sounds, gave them access to, orchestra sounds and arrangements, and like, kind of not ready-made, but it gave them access to orchestra sounds without having to, hire classical musicians. And I think I misspelled access there. But yeah, what do you think, guys?
That's the punk rock spelling of
Yeah.
access, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the album has a hugely orchestral sound without actually sounding like they're playing with an orchestra.
Right. Yeah. And I thought it was interesting in the documentary how the producer David Friedman mentioned how when they were in the studio and they'd have some heavy songs, that they had to resist the temptation to put electric guitars on them. I mean, I assume there's some guitar, but not much. And it was just interesting how they were really trying to work against the grain of, alt rock at the time and what their previous sound was.
Yeah, for me, it's such a studio album. And I noticed, I was looking on the iTunes store, there's a version, I think, that they recorded live with an orchestra. But I'm not really interested in listening to it, because for me, it is that studio aspect that I like about the album.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that as well, Don. And that's a good point. Yeah, like in their kind of distinctive, almost quirky take on it, orchestra.
Well, there's almost a prog kind of quality to the album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And let's see, number 4. Oh, and Dave, you mentioned this earlier. I think maybe before we were recording, the boombox experiments or the parking lot experiments. And I remember I was in Buffalo hearing about this, and I just love their this sense of adventure that Wayne Coyne has, and like, we're going to try this experiment, and just trying to create something new, but from a very kind of like childlike perspective. Do you guys mind if I play a little of the video here?
Go for it.
I'd love the map he drew.
Yeah.
So I have it here. Let's see. Oh, that works. You guys can hear that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to, oh, wow. Yeah, I should have used more of these YouTube links. Okay. About 5 minutes here. Now, should I try to, okay, there we go. Should I try? No, I can't do that. Can I make this?
Begin test, begin now.
Oh, can you wait? Oh, my.
Wow.
You guys can still see my screen, right?
It looks white right now.
Sorry. Okay, we're gonna have to go. Sorry, we're going back to where we were. We'll just go with that small screen. Oh, shit.
Okay. So Greg, you want to talk about the parking lot experiments separate from the boombox experiments?
Oh, let's get back to play. It's going to be small here. 1 second. Oh, sorry.
What strikes me about the boombox experiments is that this time, it's sort of technology is changing, right? Like you look at it and you're like, wow, that is so 90s, using the cassettes and things like that. So things are just on the verge of changing, right? Between the internet era and so there's this kind of mix between analog and digital that they're playing with.
Yeah, and reclaiming the boombox it was kind of fun, right? Because our generation didn't really want to say goodbye to the boombox in a way, right? Or at least we have some nostalgic feelings towards it.
I cannot imagine anybody doing something like this today, because they would have it all computers, right? They would be maybe a Zoom experiment instead of a parking lot experiment.
Yeah. All right, here. Okay, I'm just going to play it from here. And I think, Dave, when they say boombox experiment and parking lot experiments, well, aren't they the same? Are they?
Well, no,
synonymous?
the parking lot experiment involves cars, right?
Yeah.
But I went to the boombox experiment in Chicago at the Metro in Chicago. So, but yeah, play this. I'll tell you.
Not in a parking lot. Okay, here we go.
Begin test, begin now.
There's just sort of a graph of all the cars in the parking lot, and everybody turns their tape decks on at the same time, and whatever I put on the tapes comes out of it.
I love that. I love that. You know, he's got the raincoat, he's got the megaphone, he's got this pretty intricate map here, you know, artistically, aesthetically pleasing, pretty intricate. And then he's got this plan. We got the cars, we got the tapes.
He's like Doc. He's like Doc from Back to the Future. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Mad experiments.
Yeah.
Then the punch, but then as I'm listening, as I was watching that last night, and he's like, you know, we have this setup. We've made these tapes, and they're in these specific cars. And then I'm expecting him to say, like, I don't know, something a little more technical, like, then we're going to have the high end come from the West Wing, and then what we have on them, they're going to play.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, not a terribly like sophisticated experiment, but you know, just pushing, just like trying things, you know, and pushing the envelope.
So,
okay, Dave. So tell us about the boombox.
Yeah. So at this time, I was living in Chicago. I was living in Chicago when Zyreka came out, and one of my roommates bought it. So we did it, right? We had the four CDs going at one time. It's cool. It's fun. You know, it's a fun thing to do. With your friends. There's a song on there about the little bug. It's some story about his dog loses a toy or something, and but then, all right. So his dog loves a certain toy, and then the toy gets lost, and then the dog gets attached to this new toy. I think it's called the little bug, and
okay,
and it just has this glorious chorus of the little bug is the new baby now, or something like that. Like, okay, so the dog lost the old toy, but now it has this new toy, right? But it's coming out of four sources, and it just sounds really glorious. You feel so happy for the dog, right? The dog found this new toy. Yeah, I was gonna try to listen to that before this, but
I never heard Zyreka. Some friends told me about it. They, the place I work, P22, I've talked to you about, Dave. Before I started working there, the guys there, played it one time in the office.
It'd be hard to imagine getting really, really into it, because just having to do that every time.
Yeah.
If you're just listening to music by yourself in the afternoon, are you really going to hook that all up? But, but yeah, just I thought the most exciting thing to me about it was just the ideas it put into motion, just like, wow. And then, we went to the boombox experiment. It was at the Chicago Metro in the spring of 98. And
Dave, can I pause you there?
Yeah.
I know. Should we, I'm sharing my screen.
Oh yeah, you want to just stop the share so we could just see our faces, I guess. So that was, I think, 40 people. He invites 40 people up on stage. He had the raincoat. One of the people he invited was my friend. So my friend got to go up on stage.
Oh, really?
If you guys remember my wedding 18 years ago, I had two friends from out of town, right? Chris Chris was my best man, and his wife, or she became his wife, Jessica. Well, she went up on stage for the boombox
Oh, wow.
experiment in Chicago.
Nice.
And
Well, so what did she do?
I mean, you just go up on stage and you go to your station and there's a cassette and you put it in, and then Wayne had the raincoat and everything, and he leads everybody, and they play.
She
They
she just press play
yeah,
and stop.
yeah. But it was but it's a similar feeling to Zyrika. It's not even about the finished product in a way. It's just the process of doing it and the thoughts it puts in motion is kind of how I felt about it, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy to be there, and yeah, I'm glad it. But yeah, the final product doesn't blow you away in a way.
Well, I think it's a stepping stone to the soft bulletin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, it was a way, even though, you're not going to go looking for bootleg recordings of that boombox experiment show or any parking lot experiment show, but it's something you remember, a communal experience, fun way, creative way for people to get together.
That's what they said, right? That the soft bulletin was recorded simultaneously with.
Yeah,
I
that was
wasn't aware of
interesting.
that.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that either. That's interesting.
Yeah,
And I think that both are necessary then, that Zyrika was what they were consciously focused on. In the soft bulletin is almost like a subconscious result.
yeah. And Noah was really interesting to me as well. He said in the documentary, initially Wayne wanted to make it 10 CDs.
Zyrika.
Yeah, and the manager said, okay, we talked him down to 4. Imagine going to Warner Brothers. Clouds Taste Metallic didn't take off. Didn't even dent the 100. Like, all right, next release, don't worry. It's going to have the hits, but it's going to be 10 CDs. Like, who's going to buy 10 CDs?
Yeah.
And then you play them. It's not like you're going to listen to one at a time,
Because like I said, playing 4.
That's a monumental box set. So and
even
then
two, right? I remember when Soundgarden Super Unknown came out, and I was living in a dorm, and a friend and I both had a copy on CD, and we wanted to, really amplify the sound. So we would try to coordinate playing Super Unknown at the exact same time. Really difficult because you'd be like a little second off or something. So to get 4 CDs all, it's a group effort, right? To be able to coordinate that.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of, remember when you were supposed to play Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon and like sync it up with a certain part of Wizard of Oz? Do you remember?
I heard about that. Yeah.
We did it. We tried it. Yeah, it worked cool in a couple parts, but yeah.
Oh, who first thought of that?
Greg, I want to
well,
funny memory I have of Zyrika. I'll try to keep it short, but so yeah, at the time when I was working in Chicago, and I was just working a temp job, and I was just at sitting at a table doing file work with this one guy, just older guy, just kind of blowhard guy who just talk all day long, and he knew about every one of those like know-it-all type guys. I kind of liked him, but
Maloney.
Just this no. Wow, it's funny you remember. No, this was an older guy. I think his name was Chuck. And he asked me what I did over the weekend or whatever, and I'm like, this might be more trouble than it's worth to try to talk to him about this. But I'm like, all right. So I started talking about I'd gone to the boombox experiment, and I just started talking about Zyrika and the concept of playing the 4 CDs at a different time. And the guy's like, oh, Iron Butterfly did that. And I'm like, no, I don't think so, because I mean, as far as I know, it's the first time this has happened, right? This concept of 4. So I'm like, no, I'm explaining. I'm explaining it to him again. And the guy's just going, Iron Butterfly.
Been there, done that.
So I keep trying to, like, okay, but I'll try to explain it this way. And the guy just Iron Butterfly. Like that's just as far as the conversation was.
Double album, Iron
Yeah.
Butterfly.
Yeah.
One more little thing, then we'll move on.
Yeah.
And so Wayne he wanted the 10, and then he said he felt that this was going to be. He thought maybe this would be the wave of the future, releasing multiple discs at one time, to be played simultaneously. And so I thought, like, we're just releasing 4. When they got down to 4, he was having some regret, like, other bands are going to release more, and we're just releasing a wimpy 4.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Oh, you gotta love that, because
yeah. All right, I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint.
I love this Brian Eno quote that is something like, go to the extreme and then retreat to a point that's usable, or something like that. But I almost feel like that's what the Flaming Lips did here, right?
Yeah.
They went Zyreka and then almost retreated.
Right, yeah. And I think a key factor in the success of the Soft Bulletin was David Fridman, the producer. And he was a member of Mercury Rev and producer of Mercury Rev, and notable producer. The fact that he was an ally of the band, willing to go along with these ideas, had the technical skill, the creativity to support these ideas, and that he had his own studio, Tarbox Studios, which is not far from where I am now. It's outside Fredonia, so about a couple hours away from Buffalo. And we'll keep moving. I didn't mean to, I think a key ingredient too for the creation of Soft Bulletin and the emotional resonance that it has is the heavy personal issues of the band members at the time. Wayne Coyne's father battling and dying from cancer, and Stephen Drozd, originally the drummer and then multi-instrumentalist with the band, struggling with heroin addiction. So I think those very serious issues they were grappling with create the gravity, the emotional gravity of the album. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, definitely. I wasn't aware of it when I was listening to it, but the themes of mortality definitely come through.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I hadn't really listened to the album for, maybe about 2 decades, actually, even though I adore it. But it struck me how timely it is, how connected it is to what we're all going through today with the pandemic.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, right there. The first track, Race for the Prize. Talk about prophetic. 2 scientists are racing for the good of all mankind.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't think of that connection.
It's hard now not to listen to it through the lens of looking for a vaccine.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
But somehow I managed to. Like, I listened to it the other day and I didn't make that connection. Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's again, testament to Wayne Coyne's creativity and trying to not only not have a typical sound, but not typical subject matter for a rock song. Well, he does a lot, Dave, when you were talking about the song of Zyreka about the dog and his toy, like a lot to do with the everyday. But here, talking about scientists and both competing to find this crucial cure, like obvious other bands weren't singing about that, or generally don't sing about such matters.
I like when Steven says, I was glad this song wasn't about a giraffe.
Now I noticed I bought the record on vinyl last year. I've been part of the vinyl resurgence and wasting too much money, but it's an enjoyable hobby. But on the left is the track listing of the CD, which which I bought in Japan in 2000. So this is the track listing on the left that I'm familiar with. But as I was listening to the vinyl, and I guess it was reissued a few years ago, you'll notice on the CD, number 4 is Slow Motion. On the vinyl, it's the Spider Bite song. And I had heard of that song, but that song was not on the album that I was familiar with, which was the CD I bought in Japan in 2000. What about you guys?
Wait,
That explains a lot. I hadn't listened to the album in about 2 decades, so then in preparation for this episode, I downloaded it from the iTunes store, and the version that I downloaded is the one on the right. And I thought that this was an album that I had listened to, over and over and over. I mean, I knew all the words still to, Race for the Prize, Spoonful Weighs a Ton,
Right.
and so on. And then I got to Spider Bite song, and I was like, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah.
So I thought I must have skipped over it. I must have, jumped over to Waiting for Superman or something. So that explains a lot.
I think
I also listened on CD, and I know the Spider Bite song.
when did you get the CD, Dave?
Probably right away. So it came out in the spring of '99. Yeah, and I was
were you in the US or in Japan?
No, I was in Japan. So I was in Japan in '98, November of '98, and I remember buying this kind of right away because I just went to the store not knowing a new Flaming Lips would be out, and I'm like, oh, nice, new Flaming Lips.
Yeah.
So I probably had it, in the spring or in the summer of '99. But yeah, I know that song, the Spider Bite song.
Yeah, I had heard of it. But maybe, so I was thinking that maybe it was a Japanese thing, like the Japanese, meaning Japanese versus US release, and the Japanese release was different. But if you bought it in Japan a year and a half before me, then that just proves that theory.
My CD is on campus. I can't look at it now.
Yeah. So anyways, I know the one I have, and well, Don's experience mirrors mine. So yeah, well, maybe somebody out there watching knows, and I'm sure if we were to do a bit more research, we could find out exactly. But yeah, the album I bought, the CD, has this track list on the left, and then the record, which is a newer release, but I guess the same one you have, Dave, has the Spider Bite song. All right, real quickly. All right. So Don, why, apart from wanting to reconnect, a big reason I wanted to have you on was because when in my first few months in Japan, you were playing the Soft Bulletin in the UNI Smoking Lounge. And I remember you were talking about it as a real important album and kind of a post Nevermind, kind of post grunge album, which they kind of talk about in the documentary, how Steven says, like, not only they weren't sure about their sound, but grunge was kind of fading, at least in the big spotlight. But I remember you talking about and playing the record, and I was like, wow, this really sounds good. So it spurred me to go out and buy it. And then as I was an expat living my new life in Japan, it really became a soundtrack for a lot of those days, and taking the train around Tokyo, the Nerima Takanodai station. And then you'd walk down, what was the other line you'd go to? It was Saginomiya. You guys, when you'd go to the main
Iogi?
Iogi, was it Iogi station?
That was the Seibu Shinjuku line.
Yeah, you'd take that line to get on the Yamanote line, right? To get into, just being, taking that Seibu Shinjuku line, getting on the Yamanote. I remember listening to the record and just, it was a good fit for this new world I was in, these high-tech trains, this totally new country culture. And it made me, feel cool that I was listening to this. And then seeing them at the Summer Sonic Festival in 2000, I did a shift swap with Simon Hill, and they just put on a phenomenal show inside this little theater, which was on the grounds of a amusement park.
Where was that, Greg?
It was I had to take the train. It was a Saturday in like June or July. A pretty well-known amusement park, and I worked out the shift swap with Simon. I was glad he would cover for me, so I didn't have to work. I was on that like Saturday schedule. I think I had like a Sunday and Tuesday off. But anyways, he did the swap so I could go. I was really excited. I went by myself. I didn't know that many people. I think a lot of people had to work. Other plans.
Expensive too, wasn't it? That would be an
Yeah, it was probably about, I don't know, like $70-$80. So went by myself.
Summer Sonic, Greg, it'd be more than that, right? Because wouldn't it be, or you just got a one-day pass, I guess?
Yeah. I can't remember. Maybe it was closer. I can't remember. But I was pretty excited, but my excitement dissipated as I got there. I'm walking, it was a hot day. I'm walking through the amusement park, which is all pavement. So it's just, intensifying that heat. And it kind of dawned on me as I was walking through how much I had grown to dislike amusement parks, just the heat, the crowd. I had no interest in rides as an older person who had motion sickness, issues. And then when I got so I walked through the amusement park, I get to the venue, the outdoor main stage, and everybody and again, I'm by myself. That wasn't a good move. I should have found somebody to go with her. But a lot of people had like plastic tarps. They were like picnicking on the pavement.
Oh, okay. It was
like,
Fuji Q Highland then, right? Really?
Yeah.
I just looked it up. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, that was kind of depressing. Like, God, it's not like you're out in a field or, I'm like, well, they're making the best of it, but I'm like, it doesn't look that comfortable to sit on a tarp, wasn't like being in the park at Hanami. But anyways, I'm trying to make the most of it. But then like 311 comes on and, it's just utterly depressing. It's just not, this guy strutting around doing his rap rock thing. And I'm like, this is not what I came to see. Those guys were posers. I mean, but I mean, a big part of the reason I want to go, besides the Flaming Lips, James Brown, the godfather of soul, hardest working man in show business, the legend that I had gotten into the past, I don't know, 8 or so years through the 90s was playing. So I was like, all right, I got to stick around, get a drink, come back. 311's gone. I got to stick it out for James Brown. And the beginning of the show was great. He still had his MC with him. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for Man with the Soul Classics? Try me. And it was great. Papa's got a brand new bag. And he came out, his voice still sounded good. you know, he was in his 70s then, and he was still moving around. I mean, he wasn't doing splits, but he was pretty agile. And you know, stop the share here. And then, you know, the song sounded good. At one point, though, somebody threw a fan onto the stage, and he stopped the show. And he pulled a translator out, and you know, it's this great dramatic moment. He said, "You tell them they throw anything more, we quit. We're out of here." And then the crowd's real silent, and then the translator has to give the message in Japanese. So it's like, wow, this is pretty epic. James Brown,
That'd be interesting to see.
chastising, you know, still pretty fiery.
Now, were you like really far away from that, or were you able to get?
No, I was probably about, excuse me, I don't know, about 60 yards. It was outdoors. People were spaced out pretty well. It wasn't like, you know, shoulder to shoulder. There was some space. But then that show went downhill. The backup singers sang some songs. He was dancing with one of the backup singers. It kind of became like a wedding band. So that was kind of a letdown. And then, but from there, and I wanted to see the John Spencer Blues Explosion. They were playing, but they were playing this, and that's the, you know, real drawback of festivals where, you know, favorite bands are playing at the same time. You mentioned it a couple episodes ago. So I couldn't see the Blues Explosion, but you know, I left kind of early. I think I left James Brown's set a little early to make sure I had a good seat indoors for the Flaming Lips. And I remember Wayne Coyne coming on stage, and like he was right there helping, like setting things up on the stage, you know, with the equipment. And I thought that was really cool, like his DIY punk roots showing through. And then, you know, they came out with Race for the Prize, and they played most of the album, and it just sounded, you know, so full. It just sounded amazing. And then the visuals, they had a huge screen behind them, and the visuals with the songs and the sound just worked so well together. And as we get into the record, I'll talk about that. But so that cemented it for me. I was a fan for the foreseeable future.
Have you seen them, Don? Have you seen the Flaming Lips play?
I haven't. No. You know, didn't really ever get the chance. Just to go back about the track list, I was curious about it, about the difference, and I see that the track list that doesn't have Spider Bite is the UK release. That's the UK outfit. So somehow I got my hands on the UK release, and the American and worldwide release had Spider Bite.
Huh. Now, Greg, that means you had also had the UK release, right?
Yeah. I guess I had to bring my American passport to Tower Records to get the American release. Did you bring your passport, Dave?
No.
Listen, I want the American release. US of A.
Look, here's
nice, Don. Thank you for that.
The chorus for that song I was mentioning off Zyreka, right? It builds up into "The big old bug is the new baby now," right? And it's just this glorious big old bug. Yeah. And look how it's pretty wordy. I mean, look at all this leading up to that, right? We have 3 dogs that love to chew stuff. That, you know, like a lot of words into this, you know, when you're considering you got four CDs going. And then it just, culminates in the epic, you know, big bug becoming the new baby.
And I like that, you know, that, you know, that wildly creative idea of, or just, you know, out there idea, adventurous idea of multiple CDs played at once. And that's our product we're giving. And then that very wordy preamble, but and then of course, yeah, glorious chorus leading up to, but it's based in a very everyday, like mundane experience, but that it make, you know, Wayne's quite a populist, you know, in the best sense of the word, like wanting to connect with people and like, you know, and I think those everyday experiences, you know, are universal.
Well, I remember it was controversial when Flaming Lips played on Beverly Hills 90210, right?
Oh yeah, I don't remember when it happened. I didn't watch.
No, I
remember. Yeah,
I didn't see it, but I remember it being talked about in magazines or whatever. That just seems so strange. But you know, people are like, "What's he doing? He's, you know, selling out or whatever." But he's just like, "It was fun. It was fun. I just thought it'd be fun." Yeah. They play "She Don't Use Jelly" on 90210. I found a clip of it on YouTube, but it's pretty blurry. But yeah, if viewers are interested in that, yeah, check it out.
Let's should we
Greg, but just very quickly, yeah, go ahead. But very quickly, I wanted to mention I saw the Flaming Lips play in '94 at Lollapalooza, like a side stage thing, and yeah, it's the same problem you mentioned. When something is on side stage, it's hard to even figure out like when it starts or anything, you know. But so I think I missed part of it. But one thing I remember is them playing a cover of "Under Pressure," you know, by Bowie and Queen, or Queen and Bowie, I guess it's a Queen song. And it was cool because, you know, I loved that song when I was a kid, when it was an early MTV song, right? But remember,
that's a Vanilla Ice song.
That's exactly right. So it felt like, you know, it felt like Vanilla Ice had stole it, right? Like that became such a big thing. So when to see the Flips, like just the Lips just like bang it out live, it felt like we were claiming it back, right? Like the
did they announce this is a song?
Yeah,
Vanilla Ice stole from Queen and David Bowie. We're stealing it.
Yeah, it felt like that. So it almost, I don't know, when we were talking about boom boxes, it kind of reminded me of that. Like the Flaming Lips are telling you, yeah, boom boxes are still cool, right? You know, it's almost like, fuck Vanilla Ice, you know, this is our song. Or but I remember them especially nailing it, that you know, the kind of the outro of the song, that "Give love one more chance, give ourselves," like just Wayne just going crazy for that. And yeah, that was awesome. So
nice. Do you guys, how about I play the first track here a little bit? Now I don't need, do I need to share my screen for you to hear it? I do, right?
But well, just maybe try without it. Let's see how it goes. I wish while Greg's doing that. All right.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, but I'm just not sure. I'm not sure how good that was too short for me to tell.
Oh no, I thought you wanted me to stop it.
Oh, well, if it was going to take you a minute to do that, I would say something. So I don't. All right.
Okay.
For the good of all mankind.
Can we talk over? Now what about this? If we can we talk over this?
Yeah.
Or will that be distracting?
No, I mean, I think people know the song.
Yeah. Right? Should I just stop it, or do we want this kind of in the background?
I don't mind it in the background.
All right. So, Don, it's working for. drums are so powerful. I mean, Steven is an incredible drummer in the John Bonham style. Know what was really interesting? In the documentary, he mentions how when he first started working on this song, he had the idea for this song. It was a guitar-based song in the vein of Dinosaur Jr. Like that kind of pitch bend that he's doing on the synthesizer was originally on guitar. And Wayne vetoed it because it just sounds like Dinosaur Jr.
I remember the story, yeah.
And then
he comes back. He tries to repitch the song, and he says, "Oh, it sounds like a car commercial."
Yeah. It was the third time he pitched it.
Yeah. That was kind of interesting insight into just dealing with Wayne.
Yeah.
You have to, because I think, we all know people like that. The timing of when you present an idea is crucial, right? So the mood.
I was also interested in that documentary, how they sort of had these collections of songs that were sort of being produced as a byproduct of Zaireeka, and that Wayne was putting them on cassette tapes, just making mixtapes, basically, kind of fooling around with them.
Yeah.
So it sort of fermented, or if that's the word, percolated, that the album wasn't really a conscious activity of theirs. It was sort of just something that they were doing on the side as they were focusing on their experimental music.
Right, yeah. I mean, a really organic process. And it makes me think of this little postcard. I think, I showed this on a previous episode, but I got this at Art Museum in Tokyo. But it's a quote from Picasso. If you know exactly what you're going to do, what is the point of doing it? So, they were open to whatever, and they didn't have a grand, they had a vision, but
well, I think that's what makes the album
were spawned from Zaireeka, and just they were patient, or allowed them to manifest in the soft bulletin.
That's what makes the album so listenable, I think, that it rewards repeated listening.
Yeah.
It surprises me when people, I listened to a podcast this week, two guys discussing a soft bulletin. And the one guy is saying it was challenging, like challenging as a listener. Like I didn't feel that way at all. The structures of the songs are, I feel like what rewards you more as a listener is the layers of music, right? But I think the songs can also be enjoyed the first time you hear them. Don't you think? A lot of these songs?
I think so. For me, maybe the most comparable listening experience that I'd had was OK Computer. The very first listen is disorienting.
Mm-hmm.
But you just let that album, flow over you as an experience, like a dream. And, like I said, it rewards repeated listening. Challenging is not really a word that I would use to describe it.
Yeah.
It took me, I distinctly remember hearing Race for the Prize when I was at work in Buffalo when it came out, which must have been, spring of '99. And those drums, especially, that intro really made an impression. But the guy I was working with, when Wayne started singing, I remember he made the crack, like, oh, after that big opening, it's like, and then you get the voice. But in that, and Wayne will acknowledge himself, he doesn't have a technically perfect or glorious voice, but it works, in the way that I think Neil Young, his vocals work. It did. I mean, but it wasn't, because I did hear it at work, and I didn't, and it made an impression, but I didn't have the feeling like, oh, I have to go out and get that. And I don't think I got it until after you played it in the smoking lounge in Japan. And then I was like, yeah, and it must have been because I have that UK version. So for me, what I'm saying is it took a few listens, but then it took hold. I don't think it's maybe as challenging as, but I like, what did you use? OK Computer. Yeah, it's definitely similar, I think, with atmospheric and kind of the big themes and the kind of heavy mood. But it may be less challenging.
Yeah, I would find Soft
Less-
Bulletin more welcoming than OK Computer.
Yeah.
Initially, I would say.
Oh, sure. I mean, OK Computer obviously is a lot more guitar heavy as well.
Yeah, that's a great record.
Another album that it actually reminds me of is going back to the Beatles, to the second half of Abbey Road. That Abbey Road, you know, how they've stitched together all these different little melodies.
Yeah.
You know, some of the themes are actually even sort of similar.
Like
She's
what?
so heavy.
Yeah.
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 Spoonful weighs a ton.
Hey, that's the next one. I don't, let's see. Let's play this.
And though they were sad, they rescued everyone. They lifted up the sun. A spoonful weighs a ton. Giving more than they had, the process had begun. A million came from one. The limits now are none. Being drunk on their plan, they lifted up the sun. With their hands, the trapdoor came undone. Above our heads it swung. The privilege had been won. Being drunk on their plan, they lifted up the sun.
I think this is
Yelling as hard as they can.
one of the songs he used the gong.
Heard louder than a gun. The sound they made was long,
Yeah. That's yeah, quite a song. And I remember seeing them at Fuji Q Highland. The visuals were so great. They had footage of like the Teletubbies. And in the documentary they showed it, they had footage of like Leonard Bernstein conducting, the conductor, and just so into it, and again, from these very disparate elements of media, creating this dramatic landscape. And then, yeah, that was a song where he's in the white suit, but he's hammering the gong.
Well, yeah, I forgot about the white suit.
Yeah.
And now, did he bleed? Did he had some, when you saw
that brings us to he did. And that brings us to, well, you ready for the next one? Or anything you want to say on A Spoonful Weighs a Ton? Dave, Don?
Wait, so when you saw them play at Fuji, how many guys were on stage?
It was Wayne, Steven, Michael Ivins. I don't know if they didn't have that drummer, that guy Cliff, who came later, Spurlock. I don't know if they just had programmed drums. I don't know if they had a drummer. Geez, they'd have to look. I think it was just the three of them, but maybe they had a drummer too.
Huh.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I don't know. Definitely the three, core members, but there's a part of me that thinks they at least had a fourth or fifth person, for drums, maybe some backing keyboards or guitar.
So, I mean, I read that they had an extra drummer at some point, and then at other points they were using a recording, and then there was talk of doing a hologram or something, right? Weren't they going to film Steven playing drums and something like that?
At one point, they had him on the video, this big circular screen, like him. It seemed that the backing track, or they had programmed drums, but it was synced up. I mean, it was a sample of him playing drums, and they had it synced up with the video of him playing drums on the screen. So that is something similar to what you're talking about, but no hologram. Yeah. As far as the blood, so there was some. Can you guys see this now? Am I still? I'm not sharing, am I?
No,
Not yet.
not at the moment.
I'm going to share this real quick. Let me see. How do I do it? Here. So there's some video I was watching, I don't know, about 10 or so years ago, and there's a little video with Wayne and his wife, his former wife, Michelle Martin, I think was her name, or is her name. But he was talking about the inspiration for the blood and the white suit that he wore during this tour around this time. And he said the inspiration was he was looking through a book at photos of Miles Davis at a time when he was the victim of police brutality in New York City. He was standing outside, I think the 5 Spot or some club in New York, where he was playing, and a cop started to give him a hard time, told him to move along, and he refused, rightly so. And anyways, the cop wound up beating him with his billy club. So, he got blood all over his nice white suit here. So Wayne said that was the inspiration for this look. And when I learned about that, I thought that was such a cool idea. I mean, you would have no idea. Like when I saw the blood, I thought like, oh, it's, must be from when he saw Kiss as a kid, but to reference a jazz musician, a jazz icon like Miles Davis, and one who's got, very high cool status, I thought that was a really interesting thing to do.
Have you seen The Weeknd recently? Blinding Lights?
No. The Weeknd, I've heard just a couple things, but I don't own anything. And
so he's been doing a similar thing recently. He's been performing, kind of bruised and bloodied like this. I'm wondering if he's also referencing Miles Davis.
yeah,
It looks almost the same. It's interesting.
I don't know. And as I was thinking about it recently, and as preparing to talk about this record, and all that's gone on with Black Lives Matter and the death of George Floyd, and and many other African American people, and the brutality at the hands of police, especially white police officers, and the systemic racism. It kind of made me question, though, what Wayne is doing. Like, is he a little too cavalier in taking this image, this experience rooted in systemic racism and police brutality, and like, oh, this will be a good image or a good prop for my grand world of pretend. I know we're not a diverse panel here, but what do you guys think?
Well, what did he claim was what did he say was the point of it at the time? Or what's the song about?
Well, I don't, and
Greg, Don has about 10 more minutes. So
okay. I don't know at the time, and he does mention it, though. I was listening to that Mark Maron interview, Dave.
That's a great.
And he said, like, he did want to juxtapose this clean suit with the brutality of what had happened, and I think that's.
Wait, I'm sorry, wait, but brutality of what had happened. What do you mean? What happened
with Miles Davis?
Oh,
being
okay.
attacked by the police. So he did mention brutality in that interview, which was 2012, or even a little, maybe 2011. So. Yeah.
Okay. You're talking about an older Mark Maron. There was one like a month or two ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I see. I couldn't find that. The one you sent me, I couldn't access, so I just found something else on YouTube.
I like the recent one's really great. Yeah, he talks about Long John Silver's and stuff.
He doesn't really. I don't know. Let's hear this song. I think it's I think his heart was in the right place. I don't think he's exploiting that. But I don't know. I guess we'd really have to ask some people of color what they thought.
So can we can talk over this, I guess?
Sure.
Wait, so you're saying he said it that the song is about Miles Davis?
No, here, let me just pause it. The image.
Okay.
The image, what his outfit, and I think
okay. Yeah.
And
right.
I think the decision.
But that's why you confused me when you said, all right, well, let's listen to it and decide. But listening to it wouldn't help us with the image, I guess.
Yeah, I think the outfit and the fake blood came after the song was finished.
Because it was a concept they used for the video, right?
I don't know. I never saw the video. I just know in concert he would always, he'd do the thing with the blood.
Huh. Of course, they could have just based the video on the performance.
And this is the song that mentions the title, The Soft Bulletin. The softest bullet ever shot.
Don, do you have a favorite track on the album?
Oh, that's a good question. A couple. There's a Light, and also Suddenly Everything Changed.
Oh, okay. Let's go to that.
Yeah, where is the light, or what is the light? Sorry, I got the title confused.
Oh, that's it.
But I just love the heartbeat in this.
Yeah, and this was one I put the images here from Nerima Takanodai Station and inside a Cebu train, because when I hear this, I immediately go back to riding the train with my Discmana.
This could almost be an opening track. And
Yeah,
it's amazing that it comes so late in the album.
fade that out. It may sound a bit corny, but I think part of their appeal too, he wasn't afraid to embrace the big themes and embrace the concept of love. He's mentioned it on a couple songs in a very, big way. Here's Suddenly Everything Has Changed.
Putting all the vegetables away that you bought at the grocery store today. And it goes fast. Think of the past. Suddenly, everything has changed.
Yeah, that there reminds me of the Beatles. What is that? What is that? Down, down, down. What does that remind? Reminds me of a Beatles song. Oh wait, Don, you're muted.
I've been racking my brain all morning trying to place it. It's definitely an echo.
Definitely a Beatles song, right? Is it from Abbey Road?
I think so.
Something in the way, or what part were you talking here? We'll go
I'm
back.
pretty sure it's something from Abbey Road.
Yeah.
Definitely that.
Dun, 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 dun.
Octopus's Garden. Abbey Road, the Sun King.
Golden Slumbers.
Yeah.
It's just a little snippet, but it's definitely.
You never give me your money. It's something, one of those.
But Greg, you took pictures of people putting away vegetables.
Yeah, and I think this song too touches on that, using the everyday as subject matter, and trying to, sounds kind of corny, but bring out the beauty of that, or just kind of elevate that to a more dramatic platform. This is an eerie song.
Oh, that's it. That's it right there. Just that little riff right there.
Maybe the
That.
Sun King on.
I think it's just kind of a transitional thing in the Beatles. Like it's not that the whole song is structured on it or something.
I love that. I mean, they're quoting there. You know, I mean, it's playful. I think they know that it's going to tweak something in people's memory.
Suddenly, everything has changed.
I'd love to, talk to Wayne Coyne and try and find out more about the inspiration, the specific inspiration for the song. From what they talk about in the documentary, it leads me to believe he's dealing with his father's illness, where he's, going about his happy routine, and then he gets this, devastating news. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Well, unfortunately, I'm a little bit pressed for time, so I'm afraid.
John, we got a few more tracks here.
I know. I'm going to have to sign off, but I really appreciate being invited to take part in this. This has been a great opportunity to go back to an album that I loved, but for whatever reason, I haven't really, thought to listen to for a while. So this has been a treat.
Hey, for us as well.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again, Don. Maybe you could choose an album sometime in the future.
Oh, I could probably think of some ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, Greg, me and Don have like lengthy listening sessions when we meet up in conferences in Nagoya, and then we just sneak off and listen to tunes all night, right?
Conference is an excuse for our listening sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it would be great to, it's talking about being ambitious, but shooting for the moon, which is kind of a theme for this album. If we could, Dave, if you could find a way to digitize that video footage from the camera from our outing when we went to go see Elliott Smith.
Oh yeah, we could do an Elliott Smith episode. Yeah.
But that'd be because you filmed that whole day,
Yeah. Well, at least our way to the concert and the way back.
Meeting Don at the McDonald's.
Yeah.
Who's commenting on the 2000 result,
Yeah.
the result of the 2000 presidential election, and then
we have that on videotape.
Yogi Park.
I got to digitize that stuff.
I would love to see that.
I had tons of old footage from 20 years ago. I just got to figure out how to digitize it. It's all on high 8. So if any listeners have advice about that. All right.
Yeah, technically.
Well, Greg, will we continue for a bit or what? Or
yeah, we've got it. If you're up for it, John. Sorry to see you go, but it's been great.
Well, it's been great to see you guys, and I wish you all the success with this. This is really fun.
Yeah.
And have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
You too.
All right. Take care, Don.
Take care, Don. Thank you.
Greg, what's the story with so Jonathan Donahue, right, who played on Hit to Death in the Future Head? So what was his relationship to the Flaming Lips? The Mercury Rev guy. How did that? Okay, how does that?
I have to. So the way I remember it, I think he saw them in Buffalo, maybe, or around Buffalo, and really liked them.
And so how many?
And then he became like a roadie for the band.
But he was already in Mercury Rev at the time, right? or
No.
okay. Oh, so he was just kind of the way it was phrased, I think on Wikipedia, it makes it sound like he was already in Mercury Rev, and then he just, did some recording with.
You ready? Can I read a little from?
Sure.
5 years younger than Wayne, Jonathan Donahue grew up outside the Hudson River town of Kingston in New York's Catskills Mountains. He enrolled at the State University of New York at Buffalo in 1984. So it's my sister Susan's age. Daunted by higher mathematics, he abandoned the goal of becoming an engineer and changed his major to literature. Took several courses taught by poet Robert Creeley. Oh, yeah, he was at Buffalo. He's incredibly gravitated toward the indie rock scene. Literally, these incredible records were coming out every 3 weeks. In the fall of 1987, he secured a spot on the Student Union's Activities Board. We need to book some bands. He had promoted shows by Sonic Youth and the Butthole Surfers when he phoned Michelle Lizmiski at Bolting Eye to see if she had any acts traveling through Western New York.
All right. So do you know how he got involved with the Flaming Lips?
Well, right here she says, "I'm loaded. I've got a check for $500. Who have you got?" Well, this might be. I think this was. Well, no. Michelle suggested her boyfriend's band, the Flaming Lips. Okay, I know what they're doing. I like. Here it is. Bring them on up. Flaming Lips performed at SUNY Buffalo in '87, opening for Throwing Muses. They crashed with Jonathan at his dorm, hung out with David Baker, Grasshopper. College was going nowhere. I just wanted to be part of something external. A few months after meeting the Flaming Lips, he called Michelle again, asked if any of her bands needed a roadie.
Huh.
Once again, Michelle suggested the Flaming Lips. Joined the group for several jaunts in early '88. He was sort of road manager, sound man, t-shirt dude, helped drive the van guy, whatever we needed. He was just this cool guy who liked us and liked our music. So then he, I think, then graduated to playing some guitar. Oh, here. Oh, conference. Greg. He has a confrontation. I don't know. He.
Yeah, Greg. I just thought you might.
So he got into he got into a little confrontation with Wayne and split, but then got into Mercury Rev with David Friedman.
Okay.
So
David Friedman is also the producer of Mercury Rev.
Yes.
And then what else is he known for? What other, or is it basically Lips and Mercury Rev?
Mercury Rev. I mean, those are the big ones, Mercury Rev and Flaming Lips. But he's, he produced Slater Kinney. You look at Tarbox Studios is the name.
Okay. When
MGMT.
Deserter Songs is what, 97? Something like that. So a couple of years.
Yeah. 97. I was working at P22 with Jimmy Chambers, who's on the record.
A couple of years before Soft Bulletin.
So yeah, that 97, 98, we could find that. So yeah. Should we play? Do you like the song "The Gash"?
Sure.
And did you know there was a runner a Japanese runner who broke her leg in a relay race, and she crawled to continue her lap of the relay, and the manager couldn't get to her to tell her to stop, and that the race had.
You mean like a student or a?
Let me see. I think she's a professional runner. Well, amateur, but pre-Olympic maybe. But I was looking for images of runners struggling, and this one came up. She had broken her leg and then crawled to pass the baton. But Again, just a dramatic song. And I think this is kind of like comes out of like the Butthole Surfers kind of school, and like the school of punk, Butthole Surfers would show shocking images of surgery in their concerts and do a lot of kind of provocative stuff with strobe lights. And I think just kind of from a punk rock school of taking on kind of shocking subject matter, difficult subject matter, him talking about this gash.
It's funny because I feel like there's a parallel with remember that song on Hit to Death in the Future Head, where he says we were so pissed off we shot his leg, he was a dick anyways, or something. So it made me think that they shot someone in the, at least according to the lyrics, they shoot someone in the leg with a gun.
Yeah.
So this is another leg injury a few albums later.
Yeah. And let's try and speak. I'm gonna just quote the lyrics. Is that gash on your leg the reason that you're quitting? Because I see all the other people with that gash are still continuing.
Yeah. So what is that? Is that something about Ronald Jones?
I don't know. Maybe. And then is it that you're afraid of admitting that you've lost all will to carry on? But it's,
sounds like
whoever he's singing about, I think they've got a pretty strong case for not continuing. They've got a gash on their leg.
Yeah.
But
again, just that idea that Ronald would say, all right, I want to quit the band because of the heroin addict.
Yeah.
And the leader of the band siding with the heroin addict. So I don't know if that's what this song is about, but somehow I can't get over that. I find it hard to believe. Like if you and I were working on a project together and one of us was a heroin addict, I think it would be very hard to get stuff done. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Why I bring that up again, but it sounds like, somebody saying they want to quit something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then Wayne, or the narrator of the song, I guess, being like, your reason isn't justified or something like that.
Yeah. It's tough. It's like tough love, but it's I just like it's just atmospherically the song is so powerful, and it's just not typical subject matter for a rock song, and to say like that gash, the title is the gash, it's just, I could see that, like when you're like, I don't know, your kids, you're like hiking somewhere and somebody gets a gash on their leg, but yeah, it's, I don't know, it's hard to not sympathize with the person, but I love this chorus here. Let's go back to this.
Well, because earlier we're talking about how the guy with the spider bite.
Sanity.
Because earlier when we're talking about the spider bite guy, he's basically saying how if it would destroy you, it would destroy me. So in the case of the spider bite, he has all this compassion, right, for whoever he's talking to, right?
Yeah,
but in the case of the gash, it's like kind of.
But maybe he's flipped it, and in the chorus, he changed his perspective. He said, "Is the fight for our sanity? Will the fight for sanity be the fight of our lives? And now that we've lost all the reasons to continue," or so he says, we. So there he's empathizing with this person who's struggling. Let me. Can I go back?
Yeah, Greg, I probably got
Listen to the chorus.
I got about 5 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
you listen here. Sanity is the fight of our lives. So they're in it together. And will the fight for insanity be the fight of our lives now that we've lost all the reasons we thought we
No.
had?
Greg, I took him to say the fight for our sanity, not for insanity, is it?
No, the fight for our the fight for our sanity.
Okay, just then I thought you
Yes.
said insanity. The
No,
fight
no,
for
no,
insanity.
no.
Wow.
And there, I mean, that's great. Like, what other song is talking? What other bands were, or even now, talking about that? Like, struggling to stay sane. And I mean, it's not like explicitly addressing mental illness, but just like mental health, and just the struggle of every day. I mean,
they toured like crazy, right? Didn't they? During this time or leading up, wasn't there a big burnout tour for them? Like
maybe with
Outstage Metallic, maybe.
Yeah, that, and I think probably Transmissions from the Satellite Heart with She Don't Use Jelly, then continuing it to Clouds Taste Metallic.
Yeah. There was just something I read that made it sound like there was a stretch of 3-4 years where they were on the road a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and in that Fearless Freaks, that's a good documentary to check out, and everybody still watching. He talks about, I think he's being interviewed by this guy, Jim DeRogatis.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I heard you guys were on the road 100 days with Candlebox." And they joke like 1,000 days with Candlebox.
Yeah, jeez.
Well, Dave, how about Waiting for Superman? Can we end with that?
Yeah, go for it.
No, and it was great to have Don. Another person, well, we weren't as close to, but remember Victoria from, of course, from Nova?
Yeah, she was a Flaming Lips fan, right?
Yeah, and
she
she
wrote
particularly
something
liked, where is it? Here it is. Oh no, where's our Waiting for Superman?
Oh, Greg, did you see this poster I flashed up? This is from 94 Lollapalooza, Flaming Lips. Can you see that?
No, you're not sharing.
Really? Wow. Why would that be? Because on my end, it tells me I'm sharing. You are screen sharing.
Oh, wait, now I've got it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I saw the Columbus show, July 19th.
That was cool. What was the venue in Columbus?
Oh, well, it was either Polaris Amphitheater or Buckeye Lake. I forget which one, but yeah, just a big outdoor place.
Yeah.
I think it was Polaris actually that year. Yeah, I wish I would have seen them more, during that like I wish I would have seen just them rather than a festival, like at least once in because I'm more of a fan of the pre-Soft Bulletin stuff. Like I would have liked to have seen them around that time with Ronald,
I would love to have seen him with
I mean,
Ronald.
I guess I did, but I saw them at a festival, so I feel like it's not not ideal. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to fire up Superman?
Oh, I got it right here. I thought I'd put the link in the thing, but now let's see. I've got it here. Oh wait, here, share screen.
That he was,
I think.
so he talks about a brother of his who died like a year or two ago. So in the
Oh, I didn't know that.
in the recent WTF,
You say?
he was talking about his older brother who just died, and he mentioned like a couple times that his brother used to take drugs and race motorcycles. Like he would get drugged up before a motorcycle race, right?
Oh my goodness.
Just to illustrate like what a loose cannon his brother was. So he was he was just kind of saying, he's like, all right, you know, he passes away in his late 50s. It's kind of like fair enough. I mean, like he had a good run. He lived life to its fullest.
Wow.
I don't know, it was kind of an interesting attitude.
In the Fearless Freaks documentary, I wonder if that was the same brother. That he had a brother who would, at a couple early shows, had his motorcycle on stage and was revving it up on stage to create, well, the sound and then the
Judas
smoke from
Priest.
the tire.
Rob
And also
Alford.
in the race for the prize video, and the guy's running, he has all the electrodes on his chest. There's a guy next to him in a motorcycle. I wonder if that's his brother.
Because one of his brothers, like he's from a big family, I think, right? So one of his brothers was the original singer of the Flaming Lips, right?
Yeah, his younger brother. Yeah.
Younger brother. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Greg. So shall we wrap this up?
Well, let's let's end it with this. I wanted to just talk about, I know it's a big hit, but Waiting for Superman. Am I still? And I want to talk about this lyric, if you'll indulge me in that. Okay. And he's talking, is it heavy? Is it getting heavy? You know, it's already as heavy as it can be. And he said that's a conversation he had with one brother about when his dad was dying from cancer.
Oh.
You know, it's getting heavy, and it's heavy and it's going to get heavier.
Wow. So it seems to relate to a spoonful weighs a ton. And you know, like you mentioned the Beatles, She's So Heavy. So it seems to be a
heavy themes.
Yeah.
So tell everybody Waiting for Superman, he hasn't forgotten them. He hasn't forgotten them or dropped them or anything. It's just too heavy for Superman to lift. And I think it's really poetic, and I think you can clearly draw a connection to, you know, if one's talking about, belief in a higher power, or, you know what I mean? You know, and that question of, you know, if there's a higher power, if God is, you know, all benevolent and omniscient, how can that be? How can it, you know, there be a creator, a higher being that allows for such suffering, which, and this song, he's placing that as Superman, or our need for a Superman, but it's it's too heavy for them as well. So that's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
But it's a hopeful song.
Looks kind of Christ-like in a way, you know, like the crown of thorns and blood coming down kind of thing. Also reminds me of the old Bill Murray sketch. Remember when he's Hercules on Saturday Night Live, and they're like
super
an aging Hercules, right? And they want him to lift a big boulder. You remember this?
I remember John Belushi as, it must be a difference. John Belushi as the Hulk.
Yeah, no, this is Hercules,
And they're at a party.
Somehow
Anyways,
they're
okay.
challenging Hercules to lift a heavy rock, but he's like an aging Hercules, and he's like,
Yeah.
I can't lift that one. Can I lift this smaller one? They're like, no, Hercules, we want you to lift this one. I don't know. I mean, it's too heavy for Superman to lift. Kind of, it just makes me think.
Yeah, right.
Too heavy for Hercules to lift.
He's still Hercules.
Yeah.
He's still strong. That's, I don't know. I think it's just a very kind of like you're trying to be like encouraging or gentle way to let someone down, especially like a child, to like kind of give up their belief in fictional superheroes. Like, well, he's still a hero, he's still a superhero, but he's just, you know, not as strong as you thought. The powers aren't quite as strong. He can lift like Hercules. He can lift other rocks, but not that big one.
Sorrow. If you stop exercising, the muscle turns to fat.
You are said to be the strongest man who ever lived. I will spare your life if you pass a test of strength.
Must I pass this test of strength right away?
What do you mean?
If I could have a month or two to get into better